What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Crazy About Kickoff YouTube channel. We're back again with another video, and we're going to be today previewing the Carabao Cup final between Liverpool and Chelsea. As you can see, we're all repping our favourite team, and we're going to get stuck into it. And unlike Russia and Ukraine, we're all going to sit down and have a peaceful debate about it, and there's going to be no war involved. Is that right, John?
Yes, that is right indeed. After the final, we might have a change of those sentiment, but we'll see how it goes for now.
How are we, Declan?
I'm good. Just looking forward to the game, really.
Yeah, man. So firstly, let's just kick off with a bit about the rivalry of Liverpool versus Chelsea historically. For you guys growing up, where did it start?
Well, it all started for me with Mourinho and Benitez, the two main protagonists. That it was actually a League Cup final. I think it was then called was it still the Carling Cup, maybe? But it was like Mourinho shushed the Liverpool fans after Chelsea eventually won 3-2 in extra time, I think it was. And then it all started from there. Then it was Champions League. We met 5 seasons in a row. Liverpool coming out on top 3 times. Chelsea in the latter 2 occasions. Obviously, the ghost goal, probably the most controversial. I'm sure John has some opinions on that one. But the summer after, when Chelsea aggressively pursued the Liverpool captain, Steven Gerrard, as well, that was probably a big stoke in the fire. Also, the Fernando Torres transfer to Chelsea. Obviously, he flopped in the end, but at the time, that was heartbreaking for Liverpool fans. There was shirts being burned. There was death threats, apparently, to Torres. Then another famous Spaniard of Liverpool, Rafa Benitez, eventually went to Chelsea. Obviously, there was some hate from the Chelsea fans, some abuse towards Rafa there, and it didn't really sit well with the Liverpool fans either. Also, like his move to Everton, which in the end, he ended up being agent Rafa, but not the point. But also then after that, there was Mourinho coming back and costing Liverpool the title, shushing the fans again, I think, didn't he, at Anfield, in that the Gerrard slip match. We don't talk about that one. And then, obviously, it was reignited a bit more recently with the Super Cup win for Liverpool, and also Frank Lampard's famous, or should we say infamous, touchline rant against Jurgen Klopp, where we scored a couple of minutes later after free kick, I think it was, wasn't it? But yeah, it's an interesting rivalry. It's recent, but it's still very explosive, very laced with emotion.
Yeah. John, pass it over to you. You know, for us Liverpool fans, it's been a bit of a fresh rivalry, but one that we've sort of grew up in our age group. Like, Dec's 25, I'm 22, so we've sort of known that rivalry now since we were kids. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think that rivalry is one I sort of grew up in. Chelsea have had a weird thing with rivalries because obviously the North London clubs have their own thing going on. We don't really have as a direct rival as any of the other big teams have. We obviously have like our Fulhams and QPRs, but there's never been direct like competition in terms of like both wanting having the same objectives. But so yeah, we've grown up having rivalries with everyone, but the rivalry with Liverpool, I think, is one that's quite special because I think for both fans, it's been really frustrating at times because it's almost as if when Chelsea will probably had the better side, the better squad, more chance of success. Liverpool kept tripping them up and getting results against them, which was really frustrating. And then when Liverpool are sort of on the ascendancy and having success in their own, Chelsea then come back into it and start haunting them for their previous endeavours. But yeah, it's been an interesting one because like Liverpool's a club that I have a lot of respect for in the way that they've done things, especially sort of since Klopp's come about. I think the rant from Lampard was it was a moment I took pride in because obviously he's my boy and I like that sort of passion and that sort of aggression. I like that from a manager. But yeah, there's been some really good moments, and I think this final has the making to be another historic sort of timeline statement in this rivalry.
Good man, yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I just wanted to ask you finally, John, on this sort of historical part of the show, what's it been like as a Chelsea fan, coming from, you know, a couple of seasons of success yourself, like Conte and the last Mourinho season, to see Liverpool sort of rise up once again and contend for the biggest honours in Europe?
I think it's one that's been quite interesting because I feel like Chelsea, ever since Abramovich came in, we've had continued success with varying quality sides. So no matter what our side looked at different times, we've always been in contention for some still most of the big trophies. But with City and Liverpool both coming to the ascendancy at the same time, it's almost like it's been really exciting to watch us from the back foot almost, because they're two teams that are so different but so similar in how they want to do things and how they want to win. But it's just a really it's just a positive thing, because like I said, I have a lot of respect for Liverpool, and I think the way that Klopp's recreated his own chapter in Liverpool's history, who have so many chapters as it is, creating another one is really hard to do, and I think he's done it tremendously. So I've nothing but respect for him as a manager and for the club. So yeah, it is an interesting one, but one I'm looking forward to finally getting to renew, because I think we had the Super Cup, but I feel like it was a Chelsea side that was a bit maybe unsure. We had obviously, that was a season of transfer ban. We had youth players coming into the team, and Liverpool were on this European quest of dominance that was seemed like it was never going to end. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and it'll be an interesting game because there's a few interesting points to look at for the actual game itself on Sunday, I think.
So yeah, as you say, let's get into the game, mate. So firstly, I want to go to you, Dec. The game between the sides in the Premier League this season have both been draws so far. How do you anticipate this one to play out?
I think it'll be very interesting. I think Liverpool have won the last 9, scoring 25 and only conceding 3, not 23. I'd be worried if they conceded 23. So yeah, I'm going into the game fairly confident, but I'm also sure that John will be, considering Chelsea have won, I think it's the last 6, and their last defeat came to obviously title challengers, possibly the best team in the country. We'll see at the end of the season, Manchester City. So I think there was a draw to Brighton after that, but Brighton are a tough side. But the form since that, they've won 6 and 6. And they've also had to contend with the likes of Reece James, Aspilicueta and stuff, Cho, being in, like some crucial players at this point being injured. Chilwell obviously as well, forget to mention him. So yeah, I think what Chelsea have done is also impressive. But I just want to ask John, I've just said we've scored 25 and conceded 3. So how confident are you that you can stop us?
Not very, I'd probably say. I think, look, I feel like in the first game when we played at Anfield and we had the first draw, I feel like we were a side that Liverpool on paper probably still had the better team, but tactically, I feel like it was one of the best setups that probably a team has come to Anfield with, in terms of actually not just trying to play for a point, but actually trying to play to win the game. And obviously the first half, the red card did kind of ruin it, because then we did have to sit back, because if you don't against Liverpool with one less man, you're gonna get torn to shreds. But the draw at Stamford Bridge as well, Liverpool went 2-0 up. I was pretty sure that game was probably over. Then there was 5 minutes of madness at the end of the first half, and we got back into it.
Unreal.
Yeah, it was just a bit of magic from Mateo and a good finish from Pulisic as well. But after Chelsea's midweek game, I'm slightly more. I'm still not confident we'll keep a clean sheet, and I still think we'll have to score twice, which is a challenge in itself against Liverpool.
I think, yeah, like you said, sorry, John, just to interrupt, a couple of weeks ago, when it was a 2-2 draw, maybe that wasn't such a challenge because we weren't in the best of form. But now Van Dijk looks back to his best. I think
no, he does.
The only positive you might have is that Klopp has confirmed that Kelleher will be the starting goalkeeper. Now, I know we confirmed that a couple of months back, maybe a month ago, but a lot of people in the Liverpool fan base were like, I don't care what he said, Alisson needs to go in, because of obviously, I think he's back to being the best goalie in the world, me personally, but that I might be slightly biased. But are you you're obviously more confident with Kelleher in goal, but do you still think he'll struggle, or do you think that makes your job a bit easier?
I think it makes it easier for sure. Like, I mean, Keller, like, obviously in the cup he's been incredible. He's been outstanding for Liverpool, but there's a reason that Alisson plays. He's won it all, and he's the best keeper in the world. Maybe in form, maybe in pedigree as well at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, it does help, but I feel like this game is going to rely a lot on how Chelsea set up, on the players out wide and how we cope with your threat from out wide. And one person I think is crucial to that is Thiago Silva. I think after watching him against Leo, and look, Leo aren't in the best form this season. We covered that, but the man is one of the most composed footballers I've ever seen in my life. He doesn't seem worried by danger because he knows what's happening before anyone else does, and he's just able to react to it.
It's like Van Dijk. Yeah? They're both similar in that way. For
exactly,
me. Like they both,
exactly.
Like people criticise these kinds of defenders like your Van Dijk and Thiago Silva for maybe not as engaging as much as like say other defenders. But for me, that shows a sign of their quality that they're not rushing in and getting done. But people see that as a weakness.
Yeah, no, it does.
It makes no sense to me.
No, it does. And I don't think we'll be able to stop you scoring. I think if we do, then we probably do win the game. But I just don't think it's with the Chelsea side that we've got and the players that are fit. I think it will be a real upset if we manage to keep a clean sheet against you on Sunday.
100%. And let's dip into the teams then. Just wanted to see on both sides really where the problems could appear and where the solutions could appear. So how much do you reckon this final will depend on who is available for either team, boys? Start off with you, Dec.
Well, I think Firmino's a big blow. As much as maybe he's not as good as he was, he's still very good. He still links up the play just as effectively as he's ever done. And arguably, he's been coming back. He's been better than he has been the last maybe one or two seasons. This season, for me anyway, when he has played, you look at the game against like Man United, there's been other games too, but that was the real standout, I think, when he just operated in that middle area and just absolutely terrorised the United defence for some of the goals. Also, Diogo Jota being touch and go isn't really the news that you wanted to hear, like a couple of days before the final. But if he makes it to the starting 11, I read before he's got to make 2 training sessions, so obviously today and tomorrow, I presume, before he'll be considered for a starting 11 berth. And it is a big blow. He scored 17. He's the second highest behind Salah. But I think that blow is very much cushioned now by the addition of Luis Diaz. He has looked fantastic. I know he's only got the 1 goal again, and it was only against Norwich, but even against Leeds on Wednesday, despite not scoring and Salah and Mane scoring 2 each, he still looked unbelievable. He slotted into this Liverpool team straight away, which is almost unheard of. Like the likes of Fabinho and Robertson had like periods where Klopp wouldn't play them for a couple of months until they got accustomed to the tactics and stuff and the pressing game. But he seems to have that pressing game straight off the bat. He seems to have clicked with the other two and the midfield, and Robertson most impressively, I think, to sort of rival that right side. Try and go like Trent, Harvey, Salah, or Trent, Henderson, Salah, say. But I think for me, the biggest thing for Liverpool is that Thiago and Fabinho start. They're unbeaten in, I think it's 18 games together. They've won 17 of them games. And if I'm right, I think Thiago didn't start the Stamford Bridge game, did he?
Yeah, that's right.
Which was a big blow. And I think if we took that 2-0 lead in a game where Thiago was playing, we absolutely would not have squandered it like we did. Okay. And maybe people will point to Kanate and Kelleher for that, but I personally think it was just one of them things. Once that Kovacic goal goes in, it changes the game completely, and Chelsea get the confidence and come back into it. And we weren't at our best that day anyway. We were a bit lucky to take the 2-0 lead, I thought. But another thing that excites me is Salah against Marcus Alonso. I'm sure, John, you and many other Chelsea fans are having nightmares about that one.
Yeah, 100%. I think the game at Stamford Bridge, you can say about teams playing well, not playing well, but I think one thing that was obvious was Salah's got Marcus Alonso's number written on his hand, and he's using it, and he's done him every single time. And look, it's not even Marcus Alonso's fault, because sometimes he does see the danger, but he's just not quick enough. Like, it's just
Rudiger's got to be on his best game to sort of help Alonso there, and I think.
Yeah, 100%, and I think that's why when we're talking about final selections, I think there's probably I think Chelsea's is a lot more up in the air than Liverpool's. I think Liverpool's it's maybe one or two players, maybe one of the centre backs instead.
Yeah,
with
it's
Van
probably
Dijk
Jota. Yeah, Jota, Matip, Jota, if he's fit, or Matip and Kanate probably. And I think just to interrupt a sec on them two, I think that's a toss up. Either of them, I'll trust either of them to go in. Kanate's looked a beast when he's been thrown into all these big games. He's really impressed me. Looks like one of the best young centre backs in the world for me. But obviously, Joel Matip's the tried and tested, the known solution kind of thing, and he hasn't really put a foot wrong either all season. So I think whoever Klopp goes for in that respect is a good option. So
I think with this Liverpool side though, like you say about trust, you trust any of them. That's the thing. We, as a fan base, we've never been this lucky. Is that you pick any player out of that team, and I know a couple of people have moans about you, like your Minaminos and your Origis, but you still trust
Curtis as well. A lot of people don't like Curtis, but he played fantastic the other night when he got into the game anyway.
Exactly, and as fans, we haven't always had that blessing of being lucky with, having solidarity and trust in all of our players. You only have to go back as far as, I don't know, Klopp's first 2 seasons or 3 seasons when we was Kiev. You're not trusting Karius. I don't think a lot of people thought we would win with Karius in goal. I thought people were very romantic about it, but do you actually think you're going to win a Champions League with Loris Karius in goal? No, but when you've got Alisson in goal, you trust your keeper because he's the best one-on-one keeper in the world. And I think, as Dec says, we're blessed because we've got the selection of the bunch now. Whether it's Kanate or Matip, doesn't matter. Whether it's Jota or Firmino, doesn't matter. Diaz, doesn't matter. We trust all our players now. It's mad.
Yeah, I think that's like something you're incredibly lucky to have, and I'm quite jealous in a couple of ways because I think that shows the difference almost. Like you look at Klopp and the Liverpool squad, the reason you trust them all is because Klopp's picked them all. Because he knows them and he's picked them, and so if Klopp trusts them, you trust them because you're going to trust Klopp in what he's doing. And Chelsea, obviously, it's a little bit different. Obviously, we turn over managers like nobody's business, but it also means we have a squad where, but it also means you have a squad where like they're not all the manager's players, or there's some players who maybe he doesn't want to play, but might be sort of influenced into playing for various reasons, and. Yeah, we talked about your front three, and I think I said how important the wide players are going to be in this game, and that's I think a big decision that Tuchel's going to have to make because he's tested a few different players and combinations out on those wide positions. He's tried. See, he's had Alonso there. He's had Malang Sarr there, who's looked fairly all right there a couple of times. On the right, he's had Azpilicueta play a lot of the time, but then against some of the weaker sides, he's put Hudson-Odoi there, and then he started getting into a bit of form, playing a bit deeper, and then he's got an injury, and then he's played Pulisic there, which I don't think has worked as well. So, and I think in this game, in a final, I don't think a final's a game like Stamford Bridge where you can afford to go 2 down, especially against this Liverpool side.
Yeah.
So I think
it's completely different.
Exactly, yeah, and especially with Wembley being such a big pitch, like the space will be there. So I think he'll try and be a bit more conservative with it, and he might end up playing Sarr and Azpilicueta, and we'll basically have like 5 centre backs in a sense, playing and just like trying to keep it as wide and like stop the space.
Keep it and sort of counter attack. Instead of just going for it, kind of, I can see Ziyech. I think Ziyech's got to be on that team sheet. The form he's been in lately has been insane for me. He's actually finally looking like the player that, like sort of Naby Keita was for Liverpool at one point. Sort of like the other week, he was finally sort of looking like the player that you bought him for. And I think that's the same with Ziyech for me. He's looked fantastic from the outside looking in, of course.
Quickly on Ziyech, John. I know we've had a couple of conversations in the past about Ziyech, and I don't know whether Dec's the same, but when I was watching him playing for Ajax, I actually was a big admirer of Ziyech. I thought he was probably, for me, the player that I like to watch as a footballer. He was my favourite player in that Ajax team, and that's going against De Jong, De Ligt, all of them. And for me, when you bought him, I thought, I was gutted because I wanted him.
Yeah, I was half gutted, yeah.
Yeah. But speaking to you, John, like I know you've had a couple of moments where you've been a little bit, middle of the road with it.
Yeah, I think Ziyech's one of those players where when it's working, it works to such a stupid degree that you feel silly for ever criticising him. Like, you look at his goal against Spurs, his goal against both goals against Palace, like he's done really well with the finishes, and it is that you do like watching him, but there's something there you just can't trust. And I don't make it might be an opinion that not many people share in terms of other Chelsea fans, but when the going's going to get tough and you've got to dig in, which I think we'll have to at some point in this game if we're going to win it, he's that person who, instead of sprinting somewhere, is going to jog.
Yeah.
And it'll be something like that will just, and it's 1% and it's half yards but it's things you can't give Liverpool because you're not giving
it's
them
like marginal gains, they call it, don't they? I think
exactly. But then it's an interesting one because you look at, just as the size of the Wembley pitch probably helps the way you play a lot in terms of going forward. We've got a certain players who could exploit that going the other way as well, especially if we're trying to play on the counter, which is why our front three selection, I think Tuchel's got a decision to make in all three of the positions, and he's going to have to get every single one right. Because
what decision would you make personally if you were the manager of Chelsea?
Yeah. I think I would play if he's fit enough and you think you can get him playing well enough. I'd play Mount probably out on the left.
Or that could be a big if he's not. Yeah, and if James can't make it back either.
Well, Reece James is the other one. He did,
but it's like is he fit enough? Will he be like the Harry Kane in the or the Firmino in the 2018-19 final where they both got rushed back and they both did absolutely nothing in that game?
Yeah, and look, I mean, Luis Diaz and your front three is probably the last person.
Probably tear him a new hamstring, lads.
Yeah, that's the issue with it. And look, he was in training yesterday. He's obviously going to be in training today, and maybe I think he'll probably be on the bench, and then he'll if he looks all right and he's feeling all right, or we need someone.
Or if Aspilicueta or whoever he puts there is getting tethered, kind of thing.
Exactly. But the front three to Chelsea. My front three would probably be Mount, Werner, and Lukaku.
I read something from Carragher, and he was saying the stats was Havertz had more touches in the box versus Lille than Lukaku had just touches in the game against Palace.
I'm not being funny. Havertz for the movement. If you want to win this game, your best bet's not starting Lukaku up front.
Your best bet's probably bringing Lukaku on later on.
Bring Lukaku on.
Van Dijk and Matip dealt with him last time. They dealt with him at Anfield, and then did he play the leg of the game at Stamford Bridge? I can't remember.
No,
and that probably sums up. I mean, his impact. He probably was. Actually, was he injured? Yeah, but even so, the fact that I can't remember whether he was injured or not and whether he played the game or not probably tells you a lot about how he performed and how he performed lately.
Yeah, I do. I get the point. The point you're both making, and it is a valid one, and it's probably one that probably Tuchel actually agrees with. He wouldn't, but I think with finals, like football's a very, very unscripted game as it is. Like, stats can just get thrown out the window whenever, and I think that it's never more the case than in a final. And I think if you're looking at players to defy the odds, which is what Chelsea are going to probably have to do coming into this game, a Lukaku playing at his best, which he still could do, could win us the match. I don't think a Havertz playing at his best wins us a match because I feel like there's too many factors with it.
I feel like his movement and his intensity and his general involvement, it brings the Liverpool defence maybe a bit more towards him, whereas Lukaku just sort of doesn't really do much for me.
Well, we don't even have to talk about his skills and his attributes. You just have to look at your most recent trophy, the Champions League final.
Yeah. No, and look, he scored a penalty in the Club World Cup final. Yeah. He obviously scored at Anfield early in the season. There's a lot of merits to Havertz, and he's come a long way since like his first game this season where he tried to pass it 10 yards and couldn't hit it out the stadium almost. But there's something about Lukaku that, as bad as he is, and as much as like people want to throw the hate at him, there's an animal inside there that is like unbeatable, and I feel like
so you're backing your boy, you're Lukaku to make a big impact, yeah.
I'm hoping so, yeah. And look, if Tuchel agrees with me, we could both come out of this final with some serious egg on our faces.
You're gonna,
yeah, either crying or being buzzing, really, yeah.
But look, I think he'll do what you guys are thinking. I think he'll play Havertz. I think he'll play Ziyech, and I think
Werner.
He'll probably play Werner or Pulisic. I don't even know.
I can see Werner because every time he's played against us, despite not really doing nothing, he has like gotten through the defence a couple of times.
He does. This is the thing with Werner. He does more than you realise because he impacts the game. His off the ball work impacts the game a lot more than people realise because, like you saw it in the Champions League final, he missed some chances and people were slagging him off, but it's his movement that creates the space for the goal. It's his movement that makes City drop another 10 yards back, that gives the space for Mount to play the ball into Havertz for the whole thing. And it was similar when in other games we played against City and better sides as well. But this is the issue because there's so much. We have an abundance of talent now, and they all have different strengths and different qualities and different weaknesses. You're going to have to pick the perfect formula to get something out of this game. And I think a lot of it just comes up to how you think, like how you rate the players and how you think the game's going to go. And Tuchel's got to make that decision and he's got to earn his money as a manager, really.
Yeah.
So what if it was any other manager we were against? I'll be like, we're going to win this easy, but it's Tuchel. He is a man who knows how to come up with a plan to win the match. No. I know you don't agree, Ben, but he's shown in that final against City 9 times out of 10 and more Chelsea get beat. 9 times out of 10,
of course.
You get beat. But Tuchel masterminded the perfect game plan to get what he wanted out of that game and make Chelsea European champions for a second time.
Well, if
even more impressively, he'd done it in half a season, and it's kind of weird how that sort of ties in with Chelsea's other Champions League triumph, which was Di Matteo in half a season, wasn't it? I think. Yeah. But still, yeah, absolutely mad. But the way both of your Champions League triumphs have come off the back of sacking a manager, but that's kind of what he's known for. So,
yeah. I think with Tuchel, it's a crazy one because he's done so well with getting Chelsea to finals. But if he was this mastermind plan maker that we think he is, or whoever thinks he is, then surely PSG would have won the Champions League by now. So you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Look at the money he had there. Like, why did they go wrong there?
Yeah, I think he's fair. And look, he got them the furthest they've ever gotten in the competition.
Yeah,
he got them one game off, and it was one.
You've got your likes of Mbappe. Your likes of Mbappe, Neymar, and that they're all big. Thiago Silva was back then, wasn't he? They're all, and there's some of us. They're all big, maybe too big personality. Whereas like Liverpool and Chelsea, to an extent, their players are sort of buying it, and Man City, obviously, their players are buying into the project. They want to win for the club and not for themselves, kind of thing. Whereas
apart from Lukaku, who's probably got the biggest ego.
I mean, he wants to go back to Inter Milan, don't he? So, you know, yeah, but like,
we all know that Lukaku wears Inter Milan pajamas to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wear my Liverpool pajamas, you know. But
no, if he scores winning in the final, I'll be buying some Inter Milan pajamas as well. So
yeah, I bet. But ultimately, on that point, anyway, yeah, I think like to answer your point, Ben, about why he's never won the Champions League at PSG, I think it's just two big personalities. I think that's why they might struggle this year as well. To be fair,
I think as well. The final thing on Tuchel is, I know that we've dropped out the title race when we had we started so well, and we didn't top our Champions League group, and there have been times where not necessarily question marks, but maybe people have been a bit unsure on his decision making in terms of substitutions or team selections. But what people don't realize is we had to change the entire way our team attacks halfway through the season because we lost our two most effective offensive weapons. Chilwell went out for the rest of the season. James was out it's been about three months now. And they were both on, I think, James was on 5 goals and 5 assists. Yeah, James was on 5 goals and 5 assists. Chilwell was on like 5 assists and 3 goals or something. And we were having success like that. We had our centre-backs scoring goals for days. Like, our attackers not scoring wasn't an issue. And it kind of helped us play because they almost occupied the defenders' minds, and then other players crept in and got the goals. And then when that went to pot, he had to go, right, well, now I have to play Alonso there instead of Chilwell, where even though they're both attacking fullbacks, they're completely different in the way they attack. And on the right, he's had to go from Reece James, who was in the form of his life and could do everything, to Azpilicueta, who's like, he's still a really solid defender and he's a good leader.
Come
but
on.
It's not the same.
Let's give Azpilicueta some more respect than that. Like, come on.
Yeah, but he is getting on a bit. Reece James was in like the Trent. He was getting put in Trent and Cancelo debates, which whatever your opinion on that matter is, to be getting put in them, he must have been. He obviously was doing something right, and he was phenomenal. He was arguably the best of the three at the start of the season. I think Trent eventually probably would have took the mantle he has, kind of. But I think obviously you can't underestimate, like John says, that impact of them fullbacks. Like, look at Liverpool. Liverpool would be done for without the fullbacks. You know what I mean? So it's quite similar for Chelsea in it. But I think a lot of people at the start of the season were genuinely scared by Chelsea, including, I think, me and you, Ben. To be fair, we had said to John, then they look like challengers, but obviously them injuries, like Liverpool last season, the injuries kill you off if you get them to the same players. And I think we'll just move on, I think, to the keys for victory section, which we're going to do to like round it up and do our predictions, aren't we? And I think for me, the key for Liverpool is making sure Thiago and Fabinho start that game, because in front of Van Dijk, beautiful screen for Van Dijk, who is also in the form of his life. That's another kind of key point, and I think that's why maybe it doesn't really matter who's starting goal, because the Van Dijk's been that good, and whoever partners him either will just take that from Van Dijk. Just sorts them all out, doesn't he? And he, especially now, the way he's playing right now as well, he's back to what we'd call his usual level, I suppose. We've become so accustomed to this all-conquering absolute beast Van Dijk, and he's looked like that in that past couple of games. I think for me, the front three debate for both teams is what's gonna finish this tie off, though. I just think ours is a bit stronger. Like the way Diaz is coming at that instant impact. Salah's arguably on to beat his records from the 17-18 season. That's how good Salah's been. And despite the criticism levels at Mane, he's actually putting up arguably the best numbers of his career so far. If he continues at this rate, it probably is, a bit of that. I think obviously if Jota isn't fit to start, having him coming off the bench as well would be a lethal weapon, and they could turn the game around, even if, say, you're getting beat 2-0 or something. For me,
Daniel's like a Daniel Sturridge super sub type of thing that Chelsea used to use.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that from the Liverpool side. I think for Chelsea, you talked about your midfield. I think our midfield, when it's a 2v3 like we play, our midfield's got to be on point in terms of dealing with the press, dealing with the pressure, but also giving the back three a bit of cover and a bit of protection from the centre. And look, they did that stupendously well at Stamford Bridge. I think the midfield is what got us back into that game, because they just took control of it, and it was really impressive. And I think Kante and Kovacic, the two engines, the way they move, the way they can dribble, the way they can just glide the way past one or two players and break through that sort of press and give you opportunities, is something that we'll have to use really, really effectively in the game. And then it just comes down to how well we can defend as a unit, I think, and how well we can, when we get the chances, we've got to be clinical in this game. And I think that's the other reason I'm not so confident. We have to be clinical, and I don't think necessarily Liverpool will have to.
And also hope Liverpool on clinical, because on a day, obviously, Liverpool will be seen on Wednesday, they can score 6. I'm not saying they're going to score 6 against this Chelsea defence, obviously, but you've always got that threat of Liverpool scoring, even when they're a bit lacklustre sometimes. Like the Norwich game, we weren't at our best for the first half. They score, it looks like, it's going to be one of them days where it's edgy, and we just absolutely blow them out the water, 3-1 in the end. I think the key for me, John, for your team, is to frustrate Liverpool and then eventually hit them on the counter around about maybe 60th minute, something like that, to just completely take the wind out the sails, maybe. And then obviously you'll probably have to play an excellent defensive game after that, to be fair, which if anyone can, it's probably Tuchel.
I think for me, Kante, sorry, Dexter, to interrupt. I think for me, one of the most important things for Chelsea as well, not to forget, is that if they can control the ball in the middle of the park and dominate Thiago and Fabinho against Kante and Jorginho or Kovacic, whoever it may be, I think that's the key for them also, because they've shown that when Kante can roam freely, forwards, backwards or sideways, they have a lot of freedom on the ball, and they have attacking numbers that can go up, because Kante is almost like a fourth attacker on the ball these days. He's charging forward all the time these days. Jorginho's, happy to sit back and just play the channel balls. Kovacic the same. So you've got security for your defence there if you are lacking in that area. But Kante going forward is a big one for me. And I think for Klopp, the big one is in the midfield also. I think, a lot of people are saying Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson. I personally, I think historically, if you're going off a final, you've got to start your captain. I get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Harvey Elliott poses a nice question to Klopp. It's a nice problem for Klopp at the end of the day. Harvey Elliott he possesses the quality that Henderson doesn't, to change that game and add more creativity to that game.
Yeah, he does. He does, definitely. And that it might be someone like that, like an Elliott who maybe isn't worrying Chelsea as much, sort of in the tactical analysis of it all, or the build up, and he just has the magic that he has and does something with it.
Yeah. But I would be absolutely buzzing if either Elliott or Jones come on and scored the winner or something. Yeah. Personally, I love them both. I love them both. I think Jones is a lot more underrated nowadays, maybe because the shiny new toy Elliott's coming. Yeah. If you get what I mean. Yeah. But they're both fantastic in their own right. They've both got very, very big futures ahead of them, and it would be certainly for me very good if either of them can make any kind of impact on this final.
Yeah. I think as well. Oh, go on, Ben. Go on, Ben. You're all right. Go on.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to touch on Elliott. I think for Elliott, when he was injured, a lot of Liverpool fans like myself thought that the games that he did miss were games that you could see that he could have had an impact on in the way he is as a player. I think we were lacking. I mean, go back to when we won the league that season. You had Xherdan Shaqiri on the bench. He sort of brought that same type of creativity with him when he come on. He'd get you a goal, or he'd, change the way you played. He'd be a bit more playmakery in the middle of the park. And I think Elliott...
that's why Elliott starts on the bench for me, Ben, because then, if the game is going away from you, or if it's a frustrating little 0-0 or something, at 60, 70 minutes, you just bring Elliott on to try and open up them angles and try and, implement a new style on the game. Yeah. Like what Klopp sort of did in the San Siro, where it wasn't going our way, so we just hooked all the midfield essentially, and then against Norwich as well, where he hooked I think it was Naby and Ox, because they weren't at the braces. Thiago comes on and impacts the game straight away. So I think we haven't really mentioned it, but substitutions could actually be very vital in this final.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. So that's why it's a nice problem for Klopp to have, because if he's feeling brave like he was in the San Siro, he could go, you know what, Harvey Elliott, you can start. And then if shit's not...
He's got to be brave, and it's a final. Exactly. And it could be, for us as Liverpool fans, this is the way I think, it could be like the springboard for us to go on and win the league, or the All Big Ears Champions League, you know what I mean? So it depends. For me, we've got to be brave, got to try and win it, because it's just, as you've seen with Man City, people joke about them winning all these Carabaos and how it's a Norton trophy and all that. But you win one trophy, you win more. We've seen that with this Liverpool side, this Chelsea side even. I know they've won, people say, oh, it's a Super Cup and the Club World Cup. They're still cups in their own right. They still count on that board with all your trophies on. They're still there in the history books. So you try and win as much as you can, and it's no different with a Carabao for me. Or Carling Cup, whatever it's bloody named as.
Yeah, I think touching on the substitutions as well, I think that's going to be a really interesting one, because I think there's been times where both Chelsea and Liverpool fans have been quite critical of our manager's use of substitutions, but then there's also been times, especially recently for Liverpool and for Chelsea as well, he's done quite well, where they've made substitutions that have had such a positive impact on the game. So it's there might be a thing of one of them gets it right and one of them doesn't, and that could also be the difference maker. And it's almost, you have to look at it like, you want performances from everyone out on the pitch, but you need a performance from your manager as well in this type of game, because you need them to make the right decisions at the right time and change if things need to be changed tactically or substitution needs to be made. that they get the right ones in and implement it how they should.
And this is what I'm saying about Elliott and Henderson. It's good that he's got this, because if he chooses Henderson to start, then he's got Elliott. If he chooses Elliott to start, he's got Henderson. Do you know what I mean? He's got whatever game plan he wants to go with, he can do that and then fall on it the second half, or vice versa.
I guess that's the Havertz Lukaku argument almost as well. Like because let's say if Lukaku does start on the bench and we do go a goal down, and it is the sort of 65th minute, and as things normally go in finals, as aggressive as teams normally are, they do tend to start dropping a little bit yard by yard as the game in the final goes on. And Lukaku's probably the only person we have on that bench who could damage a team that's trying to sit a bit deeper because of the physicality. Whereas maybe if you bring Werner on at the same time, he doesn't have any space to roam into. So it's a different decision that's got to be made. But then it's the exact same opposite. If we're 1-0 up, do you bring Werner on to find the space in behind as you're trying to pressure
and kill it off,
try and kill the game off? Exactly. Yeah.
Or do you go defensively? Yeah.
I think it's quite an unpopular opinion, but I feel like for Tuchel, his best approach for this game, for me personally, in my opinion, would be not start Lukaku, because Lukaku has a big tendency to go missing in big games, and he showed that for Chelsea, he showed that for Everton, he showed that for a lot of clubs that he's played for. And I think if you bring him off the bench, you pose a bigger chance of winning this game, because you let Havertz, whoever it may be, Havertz, Werner and Ziyech, let them go and do the dirty work and have a crack. First half, maybe first.
And if you can't break it down,
no, I think it's a good point. To be fair,
I think he'll get more of a talking to when he's coming on as well. It won't be you go on. If it goes badly, we can bring Timo on, or we can bring him on. It'll be you need to win us this game.
Yeah, true. And maybe that's where the ego of him does help, because he goes, right, I'm gonna take all this criticism and I'm gonna go and score the equaliser or score the winner. And then no one can say anything to me for a good few months then, can they? So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%, I agree. So, time for talking's done, boys. Let's get our predictions in. Starting with you, John.
I feel like because I'm the only one because you boys aren't going to predict a Chelsea win, I feel like I'm going to have to. And
you got to back your boys, John.
I'm going to say it's going to be a Chelsea 2-1 win in extra time.
Oh, extra time as well. I'm going to go 2-1, obviously, to Liverpool, though. And in normal time for me, I think we go maybe 2-0 up, and then Chelsea get one back. Maybe they bring on Lukaku or something, get one back. I'm going to go for scorers. I'm going to go with Salah. And I'm going to go with either Elliott or Diaz to get the second. Don't know who I haven't decided yet.
Very good.
What about you, Ben? What are you saying?
For me, I'm going to not sit on the fence and get some splinters in my arse. I'm going to say that it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be a very open game. I think Tuchel's selections will play into his hands as well as Klopp's playing into his. I think we could be in for a really, really big, tasty encounter here. I think I'm going to go 3-2 Liverpool in extra time. 3-2 Liverpool to win in extra time.
That would be horrible.
And I'm going to predict, I'm going to follow Dec. I'm going to say Salah's going to score. I think Diaz is going to score. And I think that it's written in the stars for Harvey Elliott to win us the game in extra time.
You can clearly see me and Ben really like Harvey Elliott.
No, I do as well. He's a cracking player. He's a cracking player. Who do you think's going to score? Who do you think's going to score the two for Chelsea, Ben?
I'm going to go Havertz because he's your man in all finals.
Yes. He seems to have a good record against us as well.
And I'm going to say if he's fit, I'll go Mount. If not, Pulisic.
I would went with Pulisic, but I went with Lukaku because why not?
Yeah,
we've slandered them.
I'm not worried
me
about
and Ben have
Lukaku
slandered
at all.
them completely.
I can't lie. I'm really not worried about him.
Hopefully Klopp's got the same mentality. Hopefully Klopp's thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I hope he hasn't underestimated Lukaku like Ben has. That's the end in it, lads.
Yeah.
Let Ben do the outro then.
So if you did like what you've heard today, guys, send us in all your predictions yourself, comment on the video, show us what you liked, and give us your takes on this match. It could go either way, as we've discussed in this program. So we're just looking forward to it. You know, we're going to do a couple more bits over the weekend on the Instagram and Twitter. So get over there and support us if you fancy joining in with the content. And, you know, first final of the season, you know, whoever you are, maybe you're not a fan of Liverpool or Chelsea, but just get involved and, you know, let's enjoy this because, as we say, it's promising to be a really, really nice encounter. I'd like to thank John and Declan as well for today. You know, I've really enjoyed it. And, yeah, we'll be back with our reaction to this post-game.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram at Crazy Kickoff and Twitter as well at Crazy_Kickoff.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
See ya.